Okay, it's 6:30 p.m. We typically start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance and reciting the Lord's Prayer. So for anybody who's interested, we'd invite you to stand and join us in those ceremonies. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever. Amen.
Okay, so we will call the first school board meeting of the year to order. Dr. Schaefer is not able to make it to the meeting this evening, so I will be filling in his place. I'm actually going to insert one item into the agenda before we get to what's scheduled. Unfortunately, the school corporation lost a team member and a colleague last week, Michelle Russell, teacher, longtime employee at South Elementary. She had a significant impact in the community, on students, on her staff and colleagues she worked with. So I thought it'd be appropriate if we offered a moment of silence in memory of Mrs. Russell. Thank you. The first item on the agenda for this evening is the board reorganization and the election of officers. Tonight we have two new board members and a third board member who's starting a new term, and so we'll begin by swearing in our new board members, and I think we'll do it in alphabetical order. So Beth Cherry, we'll invite you up to center stage first.
Do solemnly swear
or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and the State of Indiana.
and the State of Indiana.
I will faithfully execute the duties of my office
I will faithfully execute the duties of my office
as a member of this governing body,
as a member of this governing body,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Corey Hemsel.
I, Corey Hensel,
I, Corey Hemsel,
solemnly swear or affirm that I will
solemnly swear or affirm that I will
support the Constitution of the United States of America,
support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and the State of Indiana.
and the State of Indiana.
I will faithfully execute the duties of my office
I will faithfully execute the duties of my office
as a member of this governing body,
as a member of this governing body,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I, Christina Ward,
I, Christina Ward,
solemnly swear
or affirm that I will support
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and the State of Indiana.
and the State of Indiana.
I will faithfully execute the duties of my office
I will faithfully execute the duties of my office
as a member of this governing body,
as a member of this governing body,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations to the new board members. On behalf of the administrative team, we're excited to work with you. Okay, at this point in our board reorganization meeting, we move on to the election of our school board officers. The three offices are president, vice president, and secretary. And so at this point, I would open the floor to the board members for nominations for the office of president.
Can I ask a question? Am I on?
Try this one.
I'm on, Tim.
No, then we're going to lose Corey.
Just want me to talk loud? Just so the process, I've only done this once and they've never done it, so somebody, a nomination, does it need to be seconded? What's the process there?
Nomination is second, and then a vote.
Okay. And more than one person could be nominated if
Yes.
they wanted, if that wanted to be happen?
If that would happen, usually the first person would be nominated. If they didn't if didn't get enough votes, then it would be set to the next person.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. So we're ready?
We're ready whenever somebody would like to make a nomination.
Maybe. No. I would like to nominate Corey Mason as board president.
I'll second that.
Are there any other nominations? Any other discussion? Do we have consent to close the nominations?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Mr. Mason, I'll turn the meeting over to you.
What happens when you don't show up?
Hey, Corey, before we keep going, we're having probably the same issue with the microphone. Microphone's working. Oh, okay. I'll try, please.
Okay. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. That's quite an honor. Mr. Parkinson, if you would, since I'm virtual and there's going to be quite a delay, if you would just continue to run the meeting, if you would, and then once we get a vice president in place, if the vice president, go ahead and run the meeting for tonight. I'd appreciate it.
Okay. Would you like me to run just through the nominations, or would you like me to carry the entire meeting?
I think he said till the vice president was chosen.
Till vice president.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. At this point, we'll open up the nominations for the office of vice president.
I'd like to nominate Tim McRoberts for vice president.
I second that.
Any other nominations? Consent to close the voting? Okay. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Mr. McRoberts?
Still no mic? Can we use Corey's?
Yes.
How's that? There we go. Okay. So we need to elect a secretary. So we open for nominations for secretary.
I nominate Beth Cherry as secretary.
See, the one who speaks quickest is wisest. So yes. So we have a nomination. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion? Those in favor of Beth Cherry serving as secretary for the school board in 2021, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. There you go. Okay, so I think I'm going to run the meeting here. Is that, okay, very good. All right, then we'll move on to item 1C on the agenda, which is establishing the 2021 meeting dates and times.
So historically, the school board meets on the second Monday of the month, most months at 6:30 p.m. That's when we're meeting this evening. We've laid out a potential schedule for the school board's consideration for 2021 and the first meeting of 2022. In each case, it is the second Monday of the month. The one exception is the month of October. The second Monday is the week of fall break. We typically try to avoid school breaks. And so we've proposed scheduling it for Wednesday, October 6th during the month of October.
Very good. So I assume we need an action on that to
We do.
approve those dates?
We do.
So we have a motion to approve the 2021 meeting dates and times.
I second.
We need a motion first.
Oh, motion. I make a motion to approve the meetings for 2021.
Okay, motion is made.
I'll
Yep.
second.
Thank you, Ms. Cherry. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of those dates signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Section D, establish compensation for board members. Mr. Parkinson.
One of the agenda items during the board reorganization meeting is determining compensation for school board members for the year. What we've put forward for your consideration is the compensation that board members have had for the last several school years. And that would be $2,000 stipend, which is the amount fixed by law as a cap, $112 per regular meeting, and $62 for any special meetings. The total is not to exceed $4,500 annually. And just for reference, the amount from calendar year 2020, just for your knowledge, was $3,262. That was the total that accrued when considering all the meetings. It's the school board's prerogative to make changes if desired. Those are the amounts from the last several years.
Is there a motion to approve those compensation rates for 2021?
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Thank you. Second? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on that? Questions for Matt or in regard to that? Okay. We have a motion and a second. So those in favor of approving the recommended amount of compensation for board members signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. E, appointment of corporation treasurer.
The board is required at the organization meeting for the year to appoint the corporation treasurer. Mrs. Kim Baker has been the corporation treasurer for many years, and I recommend that she be named the treasurer again for this school year.
Thank you, Mr. Parkinson. Again, we have a recommendation. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Hempsel. Can I get, anybody want to second that?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Ward. Any discussion on the topic? Okay, those in favor of Mrs. Kim Baker serving as corporation treasurer signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Appointment of legal counsel.
The school board's legal counsel has, for a number of years, been Mr. Terry Kessinger. It'd be my recommendation that he be named the board counsel again for 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Parkinson. Motion to have Mr. Kessinger again serve as corporation counsel, legal counsel.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Ward.
Second it.
Mr. Hempsel with the second. Thank you. Any discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And finally, under Section 1, appointment of Town of Danville Park Department.
The school corporation has one representative on the Park Department Board. Elizabeth Whitaker, teacher at North Elementary, is willing to serve in the role and has served in the role in 2020. And I recommend her for nomination to the board again in 2021.
Okay, Mr. Parkinson has made a recommendation. Mrs. Elizabeth Whitaker to serve in that position. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we appoint Elizabeth Whitaker to serve in that role again.
Thank you, Mrs. Cherry. Do we have a second?
A second.
Second. Any questions? I guess she was asked if she wanted to do this? Okay.
We did ask her.
Okay. Any other questions? Just thought I'd check. Those in favor of Mrs. Whitaker being the appointment to the Danville Park Department Board signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we are reorganized. Very good. Good job, team. Recognition of accomplishments. Mr. Parkinson, Students of the Month.
So at this point in the meeting, we have the privilege to recognize some outstanding students from our school community, and we will begin with our student from North Elementary.
Good evening. I'm happy to introduce the North Elementary Student of the Month, Miss Adelaide Graham. Adelaide is the daughter of Robert and Stephanie Graham. She's in 2nd grade and her teacher is Miss Pam Martin. As I spoke with Addie recently, the thing that became most evident to me is that everything this young lady says and does is rooted in kindness and a sense of enthusiasm. It started with her answer to my question, what is your favorite part about North Elementary? Without hesitation, Addie replied, being nice to new kids, meeting all of the people, and helping out. I could have stopped right there because that is the epitome of a student deserving this honor, but we kept talking, and here's more of what I learned. When it comes to learning, Addie loves writing, math, and reading. She likes to write her own fairy tales and stories, and she likes to do math problems and practice counting money. If she could change one thing to make North Elementary better, Addie would want to get rid of COVID so that she could go back to playing with everyone at recess and not just the kids in her class zone. When she's not at school, Addie likes to play outside on her swing set. When it's warm, she and her little brother can even eat out there together. Addie shared her favorite thing about her family is when they are all together for holidays, and that she is excited that her grandparents are moving to a new home with a piano and a pool. Addie takes piano lessons from her grandma, and Addie says her grandma inspires her with the way she plays. Addie also loves animals, which is a good thing because apparently they have 5 cats, 2 dogs, and a fish. A kind heart seems to run in the family because Addie says her mom is a vet and adopts animals that need homes. And just in case 8 pets isn't enough, Addie would also like to have a white kitten of her own that she could name Cupcake. When Addie grows up, she would like to be a geologist and discover rocks. She likes looking at rocks through her magnifying glass and is fascinated by the way they look and the patterns she sees. If Addie could do anything for a day, she would like to be outside while her mom is gardening and to have her own shovel and be digging for rocks and making new discoveries. Miss Martin, her teacher, wrote that she nominated Addie because Addie is a wonderful girl who always finds the positive in every situation. She puts forth her best effort every day and is kind and caring to all of her classmates and teachers. I believe that she is deserving of this award. Congratulations, Addie, on being North Elementary Student of the Month.
Addie, on behalf of the board, congratulations. Job well done, and everybody wants to get rid of COVID, so we're right there with you. It's a good goal.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Mrs. No couldn't be here, so I'm proud to take the duties and introduce South Elementary's Student of the Month, Jackson King. Jackson is a 4th grader in Mrs. Foltz's class and is the son of Teresa and Damon King. During a chat with Jackson, he shared that math is his favorite subject at school because he likes solving multiplication problems. He also shared that he likes playing on the monkey bars at recess and that PE is his favorite class because he likes playing the games that Mr. C teaches. At home, he likes watching TV shows about sharks and playing cops and robbers. Jackson wants to be a police officer like his dad when he grows up. Jackson also participates as a member of a local swim club. When asked who has been the greatest influence in his life so far, he said it was his mom. Jackson said he loves his mom, enjoys her hugs, and said that she is sweet and takes good care of him. Mrs. Spesser, Jackson's computer teacher and a nominating teacher, shared, I have had the absolute pleasure of having Jackson as a student for the past 4 years. Throughout this time with me, Jackson has been steadfast in his dedication to learn and grow. He has overcome many obstacles to become a successful student. Jackson is kind, considerate, and always willing to try new things. I am so proud of him for the tremendous strides he has made. Jackson's homeroom teacher, Mrs. Foltz, shared, Jackson is a very hardworking young man and is a pleasure to have in class. He is respectful of all staff and students at South Elementary. He is always willing to accept help from others and keep trying, even when learning presents challenges for him. His resilience and perseverance are an inspiration to all who know him. Jackson has an amazing sense of humor and knowledge of sharks. His I'm Jawsome mask is one of the favorites in our classroom. His humor, good learning choices, and following of school and classroom expectations make him an ideal person to represent Southwest Student of the Month. Congratulations, Jackson. Team Snoopy is proud of you.
Jackson, again, on behalf of the school board, congratulations. Well done, young man.
All right. Each month, Danville Community Middle School selects one student from our entire student body who stands out among his or her peers. And this month, our student was chosen for her commitment to hard work, academic excellence, and her positive attitude in the classroom. We have the distinct pleasure of honoring 7th grader Sarah Bristow with our Student of the Month award. Sarah is special as she's my first two-time Student of the Month award winner in my 7 years as principal. She also won when she was a 5th grader. So Sarah is born and raised as a Danville warrior. Her favorite school subjects are math and science, as she loves the thinking process required to solve multi-step problems in math. And in science, she loves seeing how science is woven through all of life. She is a member of the Builders Club and serves as an officer in the role of treasurer. She joined the Builders Club to help make a difference in the community and believes that she can give back through the club's activities. In her time away from school, Sarah loves to sing, dance, and read. She's a creative person who loves art, pop music, and sings in her church choir. She regularly watches movies and spends time with her family and friends. She also loves playing with her dogs Axel and Cleo, who show her affection and entertain her when she's bored. Sarah's teachers have this to say about her. Sarah is always trying to better herself. If she does not do well on an assignment, she will ask to redo it in order to earn a better score. I've also noticed that she reaches out to help those around her if needed. That was from Kim Hayes, English teacher. Sarah is a leader both in and outside of the classroom. Her skills and drive help others and inspire others in Builders Club. That was from Mr. Jeffrey, social studies teacher. When I asked Sarah what she wanted to do in terms of her career, her aspirations have remained much the same as her 5th grade thoughts, with one additional consideration. Sarah still wants to be a Marine like her dad and uncle, but now she has an interest in becoming a math teacher. We all love this. She loves math and teaching others when she gets an opportunity. Our sincerest congratulations go to Sarah and her family for being an exceptional student at Danville Community Middle School.
So on behalf of the board, Sarah, again, congratulations, and we all need good people to be teachers, so we're glad to hear that. Very good.
Thank you.
Yep.
Daniel Handler, the author of the Lemony Snicket's books, stated, "Waiting is one of life's hardships. Our student of the month, Jade Elaine, is no stranger to waiting. Since the 6th grade, Jada has been working out to become a competitive weightlifter. She worked out consistently and has gotten stronger over the past 4 years. She can now lift more than her own body weight in the following lifts: bench press, squat, and deadlift. It will not be until May that she will be able to compete and see how much she has progressed in each area. Jada is also a very talented artist. Mrs. Heather Henry, Jada's art teacher, discussed at length how talented she was and was extremely appreciative of Jada's ability to constantly try new techniques and ideas. Jada's favorite thing to do is draw, and she really enjoys using charcoal. In the future, Jada has to make a hard decision. She really enjoys art and could see herself becoming a graphic designer, and at the same time, she loves working out, so she could see herself becoming a personal trainer. Jada may become the first person to open their own studio where individuals can design their own art projects utilizing their sweat as their medium of choice. Regardless of what Jada chooses to do, she will always be able to count on her mom, providing the guidance and support she needs. Jada admires how her mom is always able to provide her with everything she needs to reach her goals. Jada, as you move forward with your life, I want you to remember this quote from our second favorite author, Miss Unknown. This is an inside high school joke because our favorite author is Mr. Anonymous. So, a diamond is just a piece of charcoal that handles stress exceptionally well. Given your ability to work hard and wait for things to happen, I believe you will be incredibly successful in your life. Congratulations on being our student of the month.
Congratulations, Jada, on behalf of the school board. Good work. Thank you. Well, that brings our student recognition to a close. I think we'll just continue and move on if that's acceptable. So I think Dr. Hamann is going to come back up here and give us a little presentation.
I am.
Corey, I'm going to temporarily disconnect you and then we'll reconnect you. Stop sharing button. Yeah, upper right. Oh, gotcha.
Just use the arrows on this too. I'm so used to there being a break.
Sorry, Dr. Hamann.
It's all right. Just like you guys, I'm sure you guys want to go home as much as I do. I do want to let the new board members know that you're going to have to get used to my sense of humor because I will do things a little bit differently than everybody else, but you should be able to pick up my humor as time goes along. So today we're going to discuss a little bit about how Peter Brady thinks about CTE in Indiana. And remember, those of us that are in our 50s and remember coming home after school, watching the Brady Bunch and Peter losing his voice or going through puberty. So this is very much how CTE in Indiana is, and CTE stands for Career and Technical Education. Last year I made a presentation on the CTE graduation pathways. Thank you. And we discussed a really great plan for our classes of 21, 22, and 23, and 24. So we're all set for the next 4 graduating classes where students would take a class called Preparing for College and Careers, which gives them a good idea of what their career strengths might be and what they might study in college, and or if they're not going to go to college, what a good career would be for them. And at least one career and technical education introductory course. This could be introductory to agriculture, business. There's a wide variety of classes that students could pick from. So, not so fast, my friends. The In its infinite wisdom, the governor's workforce cabinet decided to change plans again this year. So as we move forward, they came up with a new program titled the Next Level Program of Studies. So this is an entirely different approach to CTE and how it will impact our school and how it will impact our students' ability to graduate as well. And it's very important that this is for the class of 2025 to understand now that we have to have a separate plan for the students that are going to be incoming freshmen next year for them to earn their high school diploma. So what's the difference, you may say? Well, as you can see in the top grid, preparing for college and careers and intro to agriculture will be two classes that, and actually our students here at Danville are able to take that class in 8th grade. So you can take that class and then you can take 2 more classes or 3 more classes at the high school and you complete your career pathway in agri-science, plants, or animals. The difference with the class of 25 is you notice that there is no longer a mention of an introductory course or preparing for college and careers. Those classes no longer fit the pathway necessary for students to earn their career concentrator. That class has been replaced by principles of agriculture, and then you have to take advanced life science animals and then advanced life science plants and soils. In the previous one, you can see how you could supplement with agribusiness management. It's a lot more specific. So students have to now be more specific into what it is that they want to do. Class like preparing for college and careers, which is honestly, it's a great class for every student to take so that they can truly understand, you know what, I might think I want to be a physician, but I really don't like blood, so that might be a problem. And you learn that about yourself in that class. You learn what type of schooling it's going to take. That class is no longer something that's required in order for our students to complete a pathway. One of the things, just to give some background, all students going forward with from the class of 2020, is it 2 or 3, Tim? I think it's 23.
For what?
For the pathways. 23. So the current sophomore classes, all those students have 3 boxes that they have to fulfill. They have to complete their graduation requirements. Then they either have to have a job or participate in some type of school activity or do a service learning project. And then there's a whole list of things where they have to demonstrate career readiness. And one of the things you can do is to take 6 courses in a sequence to demonstrate career readiness. One of the classes that is available for them to be able to do that was preparing for college and careers. And that class would work for the class of 23 and 24. It no longer will work for the class of 25. So that class is going to still be offered at the 8th grade level. It's still funded, but it will no longer be offered at the high school starting next year. So on the next slide, you can see what the major differences are. Each one of the classes, the class of 22, will still be able to take careers and an introductory course plus 2 concentrators courses to complete box 3. The same applies for the class of 23 and 24. And then it's a little bit different going forward with the class of 25 and beyond. Preparing for college and careers and introductory courses, except for introduction to engineering, no longer count toward a pathway completion. And you must take a principal's course at the high school level. So courses taken at the middle school level no longer would count toward the completion of the pathway. And these are going to apply to every CTE course offering that we have at the high school. So what we're going to recommend is that we continue to offer CTE, careers, and intro to ag in the 8th grade level on the next slide, and then move into the next level program of study beginning in the fall of 2021. Okay. There's a lot of information here, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Anybody have any questions for Dr. Hammond? I'll ask one.
Okay, great.
My interpretation of this, so please set me straight.
Sure.
seems like it takes away the ability for a freshman, maybe even a sophomore, to have, I'll say, options in terms of being able to investigate, like the PCC course was
Yeah.
there to help them ask questions and look at different things. And so now coming in as a freshman, they got to have a pretty good idea of what career pathway they want to go.
Yep.
Yeah. If they want to get that done in their 4 years. Is that a
Right,
fair
they
thing?
absolutely do. Having the ability to take the careers course, the way we had it set up where you could take careers in one introductory course, really gave the students options. Because let's say, for example, I was interested in business, and then I took the intro to business class, and I'm like, this is not for me. Now, currently I would have the option to take another introductory course in another concentrated area and still be able to complete my pathway on time. Now you can't do that. It really forces our students to make a decision about the 8th grade, roughly 8th grade, to kind of know what area that they're interested in studying. That is if they are not going to pursue an academic honors diploma. And so that's the caveat there. If you pursue an academic honors diploma and you earn that, you don't necessarily have to worry about having a career concentrator. You go for a general Indiana Core 40 diploma, you have to have a career concentrator, or you have a myriad of other things that you have to try and achieve in order to earn your high school diploma at this point. So it really has limited the number of options that our students have going forward. It's really unfortunate, to be truthful with you all. And it puts schools that are smaller in size, that don't have a ton of options for students, at a distinct disadvantage. If I was a student at Brownsburg, and this is why it's really important not to compare Danville to schools that on the east side of the county. We can't compete with what they offer in terms of, like, they probably will be able to offer a pathway in photography, which we probably won't be able to do. They'll have a pathway in music some way at Avon, I'm sure, that we won't be able to do. They just have more options, and that's the luxury of being a larger school. It's really going to be difficult for schools like Tri-West and Cascade to meet the needs that our students, the different needs that our students are going to have. This will be a big challenge for us.
What was the reasoning for the state to do this?
Well, you would, Tim's not laughing.
Sorry.
I would really like for you to ask Governor Holcomb and the Workforce Development Group that really, my opinion is they really like the Scandinavian model of education, where all students have some type of internship where they can go to, and that they have some significant on-the-job training as they go through high school. Yet we haven't adopted or adapted high school enough to fit that model. We're still trying to take a factory agrarian model based on something that really doesn't exist anymore. Not that I think farming and factories are bad things. So
Is there any way you can get around this and go back to the way we were? I mean, within the
scope of things?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be, I would like to think we could figure it out, but right now we have a year before we don't have to do anything, but then we'll be required to follow it with the class of 25. We could still offer careers, make freshmen take careers. It just kind of jams up their schedule a little bit more. They probably would have to move the number of required graduating credits from 42 to 43, which is what we currently are. I still think it's important for our kids to take careers. If we can have them take it in 8th grade, then that gives them a high school credit coming into high school, and it is a good thing. It's just going to be trying to expand what we can offer. I've had some lengthy conversations with Mr. McKenzie about how do we, Mr. McRoberts mentioned teachers. And we have a really great peer mentoring program at the high school, and those students go and work at North Elementary, helping out there. We probably need to look at expanding that and making that a career pathway. We need to look at, and I know Matt's not going to like this, but spending money on Project Lead the Way in biomedical sciences and probably computer networking, so that there are a couple more pathways offered for our students. And the way to do that is you have to try and make sure every kid gets that career pathway done in 8th grade, and then we can really start to try and navigate where they might be most successful.
Would it be possible to explore online options? I know there's a lot of companies out there that will assess high school students, and you take, a lot of questions about what you like. I mean, there's all kinds of options, but I didn't know if there would be some kind of an option that maybe students could even get a credit during the summer for doing.
That's possible. That's something we could look at doing. You could offer the careers class during the summer. If I'm trying to remember correctly, I think anybody can teach that class. I know it's adult roles, and preparing for college and careers does not require that you have a vocational license, so anybody could teach that. And there is the state has a big online part of that where they do the I want to say it's like a Myers-Briggs type testing. So kids really have a good idea of where their strengths and weaknesses are when they leave that class. That's something we could certainly offer this summer, which would help free up room in a student's schedule. I'll have to talk to Morgan about that. Good thing she was here.
Any other questions for Dr. Hammond? Thank you. Hang in there.
All right, thanks.
Keep patting your counselors on the back.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, we are ready to move on here, and the next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. So board members, if you've had an opportunity to review those, we just need a motion and a second to approve our minutes from our last meeting.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Hensel.
I second.
Mrs. Ward on the second, appreciate that. Any questions? All those in favor of accepting the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. On to the financial reports. Mr. Parkinson.
Mr. Mason, just as a heads up for you, we've put you back on the screen. So in this segment of the meeting, we run through our last month's financial performance, and it happens to be the year-end financial performance in this case as well. And then we ask for a series of items for the board's consideration. So on December 31st, our fund balance and our property and state tax supported funds, that's the education, debt service, and operations funds, was $9,013,545.93. Worth noting, that's about $3 million higher than we would see throughout a lot of the year. At the beginning of 2020, we invested $3 million out of those funds in the rainy day fund into a certificate of deposit, so it left the fund balance and then re-entered the fund balance in December. The education fund had expenditures of $1,332,623.30 in December. The debt service fund, we make debt payments 2 times per year. Debt service fund had actual expenditures of $3,975,618.54. The operations fund had expenditures of $494,155.50. We also make a monthly transfer from the education fund to the operations fund. This is a pretty new mechanism. We've had a new chart of accounts since the start of 2019, so we're entering our 3rd calendar year under this chart of accounts, and this is one of the mechanisms just from that accounting change. In December, we transferred $155,016.61 from the education fund to the operations fund. In January, with the board's approval, we'd like to transfer $186,796.33 from the education fund to the operations fund. And I'd just like to briefly discuss what that transfer is and what our goal is. So when the chart of accounts changed, there were items that were previously paid out of the general fund, which is funded through state tuition support under the previous chart of accounts model, and is now paid out of the operations fund. The operations fund is funded by property taxes, but it's also funded by transfers of state tuition. So it took the capital projects, bus replacement, and transportation funds, which were previously property tax supported, And then it added expenditures, which were previously in the general fund and would have been paid out of state tuition support. So what we're doing here is transferring money received from tuition support to operations to cover those expenditures. State law recommends that school corporations transfer no more than 15% of our total education fund revenue. We started the year just slightly more conservative than that. We focused on state tuition support, which is by far the main component of education fund revenue, but not all of it. And throughout the year last year, we were aiming for 15% of tuition support. And then in December, we dropped that transfer down to where we ultimately transferred 14.6% of state tuition support, or 13.88% of our total education fund revenue. I believe that we can sustainably transfer a little bit less this year, and so it's my recommendation to you that we begin the year on a trajectory to transfer 13.5% instead of 15%. And so in doing so over the course of the year, we're going to project to keep about $250,000 more in the education fund than what we did last year. It's a worthy goal for the school corporation. We should, over time, I believe, be working on trying to ramp that percentage down to, a reasonable, the lowest reasonable level that we can, recognizing just there are more expenditures in operations than can be sustained by property taxes alone. And so the only thing I'd ask of the board is, as we go throughout the year and we kind of evaluate our financial performance, I just ask for your consideration if we need to relook at that. We've identified that we're off the mark, we need to transfer a little more, or we can get by transferring even a little bit less, and just ask for the board's consideration to have that conversation as the year goes on. But for now, I'd like to start the year shooting for 13.5%, where last year we were shooting for 15%. Happy to answer any questions, and I know that's a lot of material. And if not, I'd ask for your approval of the treasurer's report as submitted.
We do need action on this one?
We do.
Yeah, so I guess we'll take a motion and get a second, and then have time for questions if necessary. So is there a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Hensel. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Cherry. Any questions for Mr. Parkinson in regard to the treasurer's report?
You talk about driving that percentage down. What's the lowest percentage you think? What's your goal? I know you started at 13.5, but
it's a good question. If we ever got to single digits, if we got to where we were transferring less than 10%, I think that'd be a real accomplishment. What we see across the state is larger school districts, and in some cases, school districts that receive a lot of federal funding. I mean, think Marion County school districts and those with large urban populations. They tend to be able to transfer a little bit less. They've got some economies of scale that a mid-sized school district doesn't have. If we ever get to single digits, I think we're doing a really good job, and I think even the progress getting down to 13.5 is I think that's going to be a positive move for the education fund.
Other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. So those in favor of approving the treasurer's report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Treasurer's report is approved. Approval of quarterly financial report. Mr. Parkinson.
This is a report that we present 4 times per year. It's just a checkup on how we're doing relative to appropriations. So for the end of calendar year 2020, we spent or encumbered 95.04% of the education fund budget, 99.87% of the debt service fund budget. I'll tell you, by the way, that's very common. We're allowed to budget exactly for the amount that we're going to spend on debt service and no more. So that's common for debt service. For the operations fund, we spent or encumbered 77.47% of the operations fund budget. That's a function of setting the budget high just to give ourselves flexibility, and then we drove down a lot of capital spending in 2020. I'd ask for your approval of the quarterly financial reports.
Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Ward. Second?
second.
Mr. Hensel. Questions for Mr. Parkinson? Seeing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Approval of claims, Mr. Parkinson.
This month for your consideration, we have in pre-written claims $15,481.65. In traditional claims, $303,211.99. The total is $318,693.64. Sometimes when we go through claims, I'll point out some of the larger ones or some of the claims that are a little more notable. Our electric bill is routinely one of our largest bills every month, about $52,000 this month. We have 2 claims for MSD Wayne Township. We partner with Wayne Township on a special services cooperative and on some of our career and technical education through Area 31. We're billed quarterly by them, and so this month we have both the special services and an Area 31 bill on our claims list. And I'd request your approval to make these claims payments.
Thank you. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion to approve the claims?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Hempsel. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Cherry. Any questions for Mr. Parkinson? Seeing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. You new board members are getting good work out here with motioning and seconds. You're doing a great job. Last piece of financial business here, the approval of payroll claims.
We have 2 main payrolls for your consideration this month. December 24th payroll, $588,268.51. We also had a supplemental payroll, just making a payroll correction on December 24th, $2,611.50. January 8th, our payroll is $461,138.14. Just for the board's information, that January 8th payroll is a little lighter than normal. That happened to cover the 2-week break over winter break, so our hourly employees, most of them were not included on that one. December 24th is actually just a little bit higher than normal. It's just a function of having a few folks that are paid just a couple times per year happen to be included on December 24th. So I'd ask for your approval for our payroll claims.
Thank you, Mr. Parkinson. Is there a motion to approve the payroll claims?
I'll make a motion to approve payroll complaint.
Thank you, Mrs. Ward. And a second?
Second.
Mr. Hempsel? Any questions? Seeing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. There is no old business, so we will move on to new business. And the first matter there is the approval of personnel recommendations, Mr. Parkinson.
Each month we submit for the board's consideration personnel recommendations. These are folks that we're hiring, folks that have opted to leave. And so I would recommend approval of the personnel recommendations as submitted.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve our personnel recommendations?
I'll motion that we approve the personnel recommendations.
Thank you, Mrs. Cherry. Second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Ward? Any questions for Mr. Parkinson? Seeing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Consideration of approval for the Little Warrior Learning Center tuition for the 21-22 school year. Mr. Parkinson?
Okay, so Corey, I'm going to disconnect you again so we can do a presentation. And then I'm going to ask Mrs. Jackson to join us. She's going to begin by telling us a little bit about the preschool program.
Thank you.
Good evening, guys. Can you guys hear me all right? So I introduced myself to the new members before, but I want to say my name is Kara Jackson. I'm the assistant principal at North Elementary and the preschool director for Little Warrior Learning Center. This evening, it is my goal to give you a quick overview of where our program started and where we are now, as well as an understanding of the benefits of Little Warrior Learning Center. On this slide, I included an overview of our first year and our current year, so you can see where we started and where we are today. We started with 29 preschoolers and have grown to enrolling approximately 70 preschoolers each year for the last 2 years. When we opened LWLC, we started with 1 pre-K room and 1 early learner room, and we now have 2 pre-K rooms and 1 early learner room. Our pre-K room houses our 4- and 5-year-olds, and our early learner room is for our youngest learners, our 3-year-olds. We offer a few different options for our families. The most popular option is our 5 full-day program, followed by 3 full days and 2 half-days. With our full-day programs, we also offer the option of childcare. This allows preschoolers to be dropped off and picked up between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. each day, Monday through Friday. As it stands, we currently have 40 preschoolers enrolled in our 5 full-day program, 19 preschoolers enrolled in our 3 full-day program, and 11 enrolled for 2 days a week. And I just want to point out that some of our 2-day-a-week families are actually interested in the full-day spot, a 3-day or 5-day spot, but I worked with them and they signed up for 2 full days until one of those spots opens up. This year's been a good year for us, and we haven't had a lot of turnover, so we haven't had spots become available very often. LWLC provides many benefits to our families. To help highlight those benefits, I'm going to give you an overview of what a typical day looks like in our program. I know Tim has heard me kind of give this spiel, but you guys haven't. You guys don't really know what goes on in our program, so I just want to help you understand that. So our day at Little Warrior Learning Center is broken up into 3 main parts. We have beginning of the day childcare, we have instructional time, and then we have end of the day childcare. All 3 of these parts, we stay pretty structured. The majority of our preschoolers typically arrive between 7 and 8. During this time, we have 3 adults inside greeting kiddos, helping them eat breakfast, as well as completing their morning work, which typically consists of building fine motor skills or recognizing their names or letter sounds, all of that. Our instructional time begins around 8, right after announcements, and then going into our classrooms, you would see the following things throughout the day. You would see morning meetings, circle time, music and movement, hands-on letter play with our Handwriting Without Tears curriculum, literacy and crafts, structured learning centers, free play, social skills, and of course, many potty breaks, snacks, lunch, and quiet time. At 2:30, we begin our afternoon childcare time, which is also very routine. We go to the gym each day. We have quiet story time, structured play centers, and we end our day with free play either outside or in our sensory room. And I would like to point out that being at North Elementary allows us to have a couple benefits, some of which are going to our related arts classrooms. So our preschoolers get to visit art, music, gym, and library. We utilize the same social emotional learning curriculum that North Elementary uses, Second Steps. I do my best to schedule on-site field trips as the preschool director. This year has been a little more challenging with COVID, but typically we do a lot of asking community members to come in and present to our kiddos based on whatever theme we're focusing on. And then a typical year, we also participate in reading buddies with our 2nd graders and our developmental preschoolers, and we also host quarterly meetings or events for our families. And then last but not least, we also offer a staff discount for all of DCSC staff members, a 15% staff discount, and then we also include scholarships for each room for our families in need. So as we move into our 4th year, I'm very proud of the preschool program we have and continue to build. It is our goal to provide a safe place for preschool-age children to engage in academics through play-based and intentional teaching while instilling a love of learning in our students. We pride ourselves on creating an enriched learning environment for our children and know that they are very well prepared and ready for kindergarten when they leave. So before I pass the baton over to Mr. Parkinson, does anybody have any question?
I just want to say thank you. I'm proud that Danville opened the Little Warrior Center because I've had nieces who've gone through, and it has been a really smooth transition from preschool to kindergarten, and especially one of my nieces is super shy.
Yeah.
So she has had a great year in kindergarten this year, and it's just because of the familiarity of all of the things there and being in the building and just the teachers and stuff like that. So I'm super thankful that we have this opportunity to provide this benefit for our community.
Thank you. I also want to point out that this is this current school year's information. It will be updated once I get if I get my approval for what we would like to do next year. So, Matt.
So I'm gonna speak just briefly to the finances. The preschool program is one of 2 programs at the school corporation, along with our latchkey program, PACE, that's designed to be funded by payments from families. So for calendar year 2020, and we have a red number at the bottom, and I'm going to be sure to explain what that is. For calendar year 2020, we collected $250,000 in revenue for this program, the vast majority of which was student tuition. We also charge a registration fee. Typically, that's collected January, February, March. Our expenditures, and these are direct expenditures, they're costs that we can trace directly to the program. Totaled $276,167. And so on the year in 2020, the calendar year, we operated at a loss on direct expenditures of about $25,000. The program's designed to be self-sustaining. The reason that we operated at a loss in 2020 is, as a school corporation, we made a decision that we were going to pay all employees when the schools shut down in March, April, and May. For most of our programs, think our general education, think our staff that you see throughout the building and front offices and housekeeping and so on, our funding structure, our funding didn't change. In the case of preschool and PACE, it did. We stopped collecting revenue for the service we weren't providing, but we decided that as a corporation we were going to pay all employees. So we operated at a loss in 2020. I did add one more slide just to show what the year-to-date has looked like for calendar year, or for fiscal year 2021. So that's July through December. Bill, if you wouldn't mind, thank you. So far from July through December, this is what a normal half year looks like for us. We collected $164,000 in revenue, $140,000 in direct expenditures, the difference between those numbers being $24,000. So it's designed to be self-sustaining. We intentionally accepted the consequence of choosing to pay employees last spring.
And I also want to point out that includes part of my salary as well. And the slide before, we also ran the figures at the bottom. Had we stayed open and we continued collecting our fees, we would have profited money last year. But when we closed and we paid, obviously, like Matt said, we lost.
So on a typical year, what, you said that was a half year, we were up 24,000, do we make 50,000 a year off?
Yeah,
Okay.
between 40 and 50
Yeah.
is what's normal.
So our first year it was approximately 25, if I remember correctly. And it's kind of, if we would have made money last year, it would have been close to the 45 range. So we've seen a little bit of an increase from year to year. But I can say as the director that last year and this year's enrollment has been pretty regular. So we had 68 kiddos last year, and this year we have 70. I actually just enrolled one today. So I think my on the next slide, my numbers are off by one. So I just had a kiddo sign up today for a 2 full day, again, wanting the 5 full days, but we don't have it. So
And do you still have room?
I have half-day spots, not very many, just a few. I don't have any half-day spots for my 3-year-olds. I have a couple for my 4 and 5-year-olds, and a lot of families just want the 5 full days or the 3 full days. So as it stands, I have 3 rooms, and I don't have any room for 5 full days. In fact, I'm over in a couple of them. I typically keep my pre-K rooms at 20 and my early learner rooms at 16. I'm up 17 and 21. So when we hire new staff, I don't like to turn their kiddos away, which is why I put my rooms over. We've hired a few staff members who have preschool-age children, and I'm going to take them in. So that's what I just did today. I took another staff member's kiddo. So next year, we're proposing that we keep the prices the same for our full-day programs, and then we increase our half-day amount to $22 instead of $20. I do my research, and I try to do a comparison with the corporation schools that are close by, as well as the community preschools, the Danville community preschools. And we're a little higher than the corporation preschools, and we're a little lower than the community preschools in Danville. So I think we're in a really good place this year. I think Matt and I have the vision of making an increase in prices next year, as after we kind of get through another year of COVID, just kind of see where it lands. So I suggested that we keep our prices the same just to get us through another year of COVID-19, so we don't increase those prices for our families that are going to be coming back next year.
Are most of our students Danville residents?
Yes. In fact, something I'm kind of proud of is a few of our preschoolers that I've enrolled in the past have actually decided to come to Danville. Mm-hmm. So they like our program so much that we've had a few of them stay as kindergartners and first graders and bring their siblings with them. So their families actually took their siblings out of school and enrolled them into our school district. So yeah, the majority do live in Danville. I will say the ones that don't are typically staff members. Okay. Yeah.
Do you have a wait list, or do you have any idea how many students we turn away
Yes,
each year just
I
due
do.
to limitations?
So I had 96 enroll or sign up this year. I have 70 enrolled. I have a bit of a wait list. I have quite a few families that would like the 5 full days. I told Mr. Parkinson early on in the year that if this year wasn't COVID-19 and we weren't under construction at North Elementary, I probably would have asked to open an additional classroom, just because we had so much interest in our 5 full days. But with what we have going on, we decided it was best to leave it as is for this school year.
Is that a possibility for the future?
Yeah, so I have room for 4 rooms, potentially 5 if needed. But I also don't know that we'll ever grow much bigger than 4. I'm anxious to see what our new enrollment brings this coming year, to see if it stays the same or if we grow a little more.
It's interesting because Avon is getting ready to use
Redistrict.
one of their elementary schools as solely a preschool. That's how their program has grown so big, and then they're redistricting all their other students
Yes.
to the other elementaries.
Yes, they're taking one of their elementary schools right off 267 and making it the preschool. Yeah, redistricting. Every school in Hendricks County has a preschool now. All of our neighbors have one. I think the last 2 opened up last year. So.
Any other questions for Mrs. Jackson? Thank you.
Thank you.
The action item that we're asking for is your approval of the tuition rates for the upcoming school year, which again, looking at our costs, we believe we can sustain at the same prices, and comparing the other childcares in the market, we think that's the right place to be. So we'd ask for your approval for the tuition prices as submitted, which are flat for our full-day programs and a $2 increase per day for our half-day programs.
Consideration of the motion, or to make
I'll make a
motion?
motion to approve the new rates.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Cherry. Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any questions? Any other questions? Seeing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Consideration of approval for second semester non-resident transfer students.
So by board decision, Danville Community Schools is an open school district, which means that we accept out-of-district transfers. That's common for school districts that have capacity within their buildings to do. The board approves at the start of the first semester and at the start of the second semester. We ask for your approval for the names of the students. We have 9 students who are new to us since the first semester as transfer students. So we've submitted their names for your consideration, and we'd request your approval. Thank you for the reminder. Corey, I'm going to reconnect you again.
Okay, thank you.
There
Okay,
he
you're
is.
on.
Okay, so we need to consider approval for second semester non-resident transfer students.
Motion to approve.
Motion, thank you, Mr. Hempsel. Second?
I second.
Thank you, Mrs. Ward. Are there any questions for Mr. Parkinson? Seeing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Consider approval of class of 2025 graduation course requirements. And I believe this goes with the presentation that Dr. Hammond gave us, correct?
That's right. I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Walker.
Okay. Hi, Mrs. Walker.
Yes, so Dr. Hammond obviously presented earlier. So this is just sort of a rehash of things that he said. So currently, our graduation requirements include the Preparing for College and Careers and then one introductory level career and tech ed course. With those changing for the class of 2025, he has recommended, and now I am recommending to you, that we now sort of adopt a change in those graduation requirements. We've changed last month, the board approved changes to the course titles. So this is sort of the next step for the graduation requirements. So we're recommending that students be required to take 2 credits of a principal's course, which is sort of the new name for the introductory courses, in order to complete our graduation requirements at the high school.
Okay, so we are the school seeking approval for course requirement changes. Care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mrs. Ward. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Cherry. Any questions for Mrs. Walker?
I guess I've got one. I was kind of under the impression from Dr. Holman that maybe he wasn't all that excited about this path. And am I right by feeling, it's the way I interpreted him. So
Let me
is there
take
anything else
Mrs.
different we need to do?
Let me take Mrs. Walker off the hook. As somebody who works with principals in Indiana every day, there are not a lot of principals in the state that are really excited about this change.
Yeah, so I guess I'm asking that question is
Yeah.
that something we have to do today? Can we table this or do we need to go ahead with it?
I mean, I think you certainly have the option. I mean, we can wait. We can certainly push it out. At this point, knowing that those classes are coming and knowing that last month we made the choice to sort of switch, it's really sort of a name change in a lot of cases. They don't even have the standards out for any of these courses yet, but we assume they will be very similar to the introductory courses. At this point, it's sort of it's coming here in a couple years. So whether we, the only thing that sort of hurts us is the longer we wait, the harder it is for students that are coming in as freshmen to know exactly what their requirements are, what the target is.
Okay.
So
I got
that's
you.
one of the reasons to do it, sooner
Okay.
than later.
Well, and this affects the incoming freshmen, current eighth graders, and you
Right.
guys will start scheduling them here in January, February.
Right.
So they have to get some
Something
course
going. Okay,
requirements.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Well, I don't think it doesn't hurt to look at other options of how we can get some of those classes that maybe aren't required right now in the hands of the students to make sure they're on the right path.
Yeah.
Good. Yep.
All right, well, we have a motion and a second, so we are considering the approval of the course requirements. So those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. Consideration of the approval of resolution to authorize administration to handle work disruptions for employees impacted by COVID-19. Is there an acronym we could come up for that? Or?
We stuffed as many words in that
Okay,
title
all
as we
right,
could. We wanted it to be a challenge. So I want to tell you what we're presenting for the board's consideration this evening. This is a resolution that we're asking the board to adopt that would give Dr. Schaefer and the administration the authorization to make certain decisions around compensation for employees. And the period that we've set is between now and March 31st. And I'll tell you, there are a few reasons we're bringing this forward. The kind of philosophical reason is that COVID continues to evolve. We'd appreciate the flexibility to make changes as things come up scheduling-wise. But we have two issues that are really kind of driving this. The most important one is the FFCRA, which is part of the major legislative package passed by Congress in the spring when the pandemic was really taking off. One of the provisions that it included was mandatory paid leave for certain employers, including school corporations. We were required to provide 10 days of paid leave to employees, and they could use this leave if they were experiencing COVID symptoms, if they were seeking a COVID diagnosis, if they were quarantined. And so it was an unfunded mandate, and what I mean by that is as a school corporation, we absorb the cost of that, as did most employers. And we do so, in this case, gladly, because it's in the interest of employees, and it's in the interest of the school corporation to make sure that we have folks who are sick that aren't here in person. So the primary driver behind this request is that we'd like voluntarily to extend this program out through March, and we're probably going to ask to take a look at it again in March. So basically what we're saying is we'd like to add an additional bank of sick days for employees continuing the program they've been under since March and April. If they're quarantined, if they're diagnosed with COVID, giving them paid time away from the school district. It's a safety matter for our students and staff. The other thing that is driving this request now is, as we started heading into the second semester, we made the decision that we were going to put a few different modifications and breaks into the schedule in the spring semester. We incorporated several e-learning days, and we incorporated one day, the Friday before President's Day, as just a day off. And what we're working to do here is preserve stamina. This school year has been exceptionally taxing on teachers and on school employees, and so and students as well. And so what we're doing is working to come up with ways to just incrementally break up time between the start of the semester and spring break. And so through this resolution, we're also asking for your authority to make compensation decisions for our employees around either paying them for doing alternate duties compared to what they would normally do, or on the day off, paying them regardless of the work that they do on that day. Happy to answer any questions. I'll tell you that the resolution is in all but just technical corrections. It's the same that the board, we asked the board to approve in the spring, and the board did so at the time.
Okay, so we have consideration of approval. We can get a motion in a second. If we have any questions from there, we can go from there. So,
Motion to approve.
thank you, Mr. Hempsel.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Ward. Any questions? Guess I would ask, this kind of be looked at as really an employee benefit.
Right.
We're giving them an opportunity to pay employees if they have to stay home
Right.
due to COVID reasons. So,
Yep, these are decisions that we would make in the interest of employees.
yeah, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Consideration of approval of gifts and donations to the corporation.
The school corporation was blessed to receive 2 donations last month that we'd like to present for your approval. One is from the McGrath family, Matthew and Jennifer McGrath, who donated $200 to pay for the lunches of our middle school teachers on their last workday of the first semester. And then we also received a generous donation from the Herald family, $100 to support the Danville Community Middle School athletic department. So we thank the families for these kind gifts and would ask for your approval to receive them.
Thank you, Mr. Parkinson.
I make a motion to approve the gifts.
Thank you, Mrs. Ward.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Hempsel. Any questions? Discussion? Seeing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Consider approval of surplus equipment.
Periodically, we will replace equipment around the school district that has grown outdated. In this case, we have done a refresh of the computers in this building for teachers and staff, and so we're asking for your approval to declare their old equipment as surplus.
Thank you. For the request, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Hempsel. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Ward. Any questions for Mr. Parkinson? Seeing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Are you giving a superintendent's report, or?
I'll just very briefly, I just want to point out that I guess I want to give some recognition to the staff around the school corporation. Like I mentioned just a few minutes ago, this has been an exceptionally difficult school year for staff, made that much more difficult last week by the passing of Mrs. Russell at South Elementary. We have a tremendous team here at Danville Community Schools, and I think our staff deserves a lot of credit for persevering through such a difficult school year. So just want to make that note on behalf of Dr. Schaefer.
Thank you very much. The next item is legislative updates. As the legislative liaison, I can just briefly tell you that legislative session is underway, and it is the long session with the biennial budget. So a lot of the conversation this year, everything's going to involve money and whether or not it's there and who gets it, that type of thing. But it's also a redistricting year because of the 2020 census. And there's already been a little kind of debate and conversation about that between the Republicans and Democrats on how that's going to go. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. It is a much different scene down at the State House with all the COVID precautions that are in place. All the committees are meeting in separate rooms. As you know, I go to testify on bills. That's all being done in separate rooms, and you have to sign up ahead of time. And you go into a room in front of a computer and offer your testimony, and they question you via Zoom. So it's a little different, but so far so good. And I'm sure there will be plenty of deeper updates as we get going here. But that's where we're at right now. Well, normally we have community input at this time. Mrs. Smith, did anybody sign up? She'll let me know in a second. Sorry, we didn't check on that at the beginning.
No, you're good.
We're good there, Mrs. Smith? Is there, anybody who would like to offer input? If so, you can step to the mic and state your name and address. Going once, going twice. Thank you very much. Okay, then. Well, there is this thing on here about announcements. Should we announce what's going on here? Sure. Go ahead.
The next school board meeting, based on the schedule approved by the board earlier, will be Monday, February 8th, 6:30 p.m. in this room. And then this is going to be hopefully the one time of year that we do this. We're going to adjourn this meeting and then immediately open up a second meeting, which is the Board of Finance meeting.
Okay. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion has been moved begrudgingly and seconded. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned for 30 seconds till we can pull up the agenda for the next meeting.
We have 5 minutes.
We'll take 5 minutes, Mr. Parkinson, if that's okay.
That'll be fine.
Thank you.
We have to vote on that?